Good morning, everybody. It is Eastside Connect for March 9th, 2023. We're doing public safety topics today, and we've got some great special guests and some great topic generation to do together. It's great to see some of my favorites from the East Side. We're going to do some introductions here in a minute, and just give you a chance to chime in on this important topic. As you probably know, this is just the beginning of this topic for ISABA this year. We love to have a community meeting like this where we're talking about what's top on people's minds regarding this, get a little bit of information from our community context, and then talk about, okay, so what? What do we need to be doing about this on the East Side? What's relevant on the East Side now? And how do we make progress in this very important domain, both to businesses and residents, pretty much everybody in the community. So let's thank our sponsors real quick, and we'll kind of get that part underway. ISABA is grateful to have the support of these sponsors that help us put on events like this and everything else we do. Ideal Printers, DV Creative, Harrington Langer and Associates. We have a new sponsor, Energy Smart and WasteWise, State Farm and the Office of Juan Cervantes State Farm, Sane Foundation, M Health Fairview, the St. Paul Port Authority, Highway Credit Union, Sunrise Banks, Metro State, Mueller Memorial, Premier Banks, Walters Recycling and Refuse, and Health Partners. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All of our sponsors. Okay, well, let's meet all of you. I'm going to drop that agenda in the chat and ask you, if you will, go ahead and give us your name and the organization that you're with, and one thing that your organization is known for or does well. So put that over there in the chat for us, and turn on your cameras if you can, and we'll do some waving at each other and give our special guests an idea of who's in the room. Okay, let's see if folks can get their cameras on if possible. There we go. We're looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm Paris Dunning. I'm the director of the East Side Area Business Association, nonprofit on the East Side. Do we have folks from any businesses in particular on the call? I don't see any businesses at the moment. Am I missing anybody? No, looking around at us. We are nonprofit heavy this morning. Okay, if you're a nonprofit out there and you just love hanging out with ISABA on these mornings, go ahead and give us a wave. There's Randy Bloom from MSS, Yolanda Davis, who sometimes represents Metro State and was working with the Sane Foundation recently. We'll connect with you in a minute too, Yolanda, about anything new. There's my friend Lori Seaver from the public-private thing known as the St. Paul Port Authority, but also from District 1 Community Council. I see Patrick Troska, funder and convener from the Runyon Family Foundation. Great to see you, Patrick. All right. Are there any other nonprofits that I missed? Okay. How about Noel Nix from that mayor's office? Noel, it's great to have you on the call. You're right in the middle of my screen today. That's great. It's where you should be, man. Like right there. I see Delisa Sherrod, and she's giving me the kind of a face. She's from District, and she's going to laugh at me too. She's from District 2 Community Council and a great neighbor over on the East Side. We're working on a community cooperative together for real estate investment. Good morning, Delisa. I'm glad you're here.
Good morning.
And who have I missed anybody? We have Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom. Loving having a senior commander on the call to talk about public safety.
Hey everybody, I don't have a camera. Morning.
Oh, no camera today. Okay, that's a bummer because you're kind of a good-looking guy. And sometimes, you know, like we go head-to-head on like who's got the whitest beard. Hey, I think I've definitely.
I don't have a beard today. I had to shave it off. I had my PT test.
Oh no. Okay, no beard for the PT test. What do you? Is that for aerodynamics or something?
No, we have to be tested, annual test in our gas mask.
Oh.
So
dang,
can't have any facial hair. It interferes with the seal. So I'm pretty stubby today.
Well, I am definitely the whiter beard today then, sir. Anyway, welcome to the show. I wish it were for aerodynamics and not your gas mask test. Honestly, it's a hard job. All right. So we've got two special guests with us today, Amanda Duerr and JP, John Perlich from the St. Paul. What are you from? The St. Paul area. The St. Paul, I can't think anything with the Port Authority. I don't know why.
Area Chamber.
St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce. SABA is an in-kind member with the St. Paul Area Chamber, and they are an in-kind member with us too. And we have them talking with us today, helping kick off this conversation. Brooke Lee sends her apologies. She is in the air right now, and she had just miscalibrated when exactly she was going to be available to do the Zoom with us. But the CEO of Anchor Paper, Brooke Lee, will be a part of our ongoing conversations about this, and she is watching this video, she assured me later. So we can all wave at Brooke. Yeah, that's good. Brooke. Perfect. Okay, we also have Terry Draxton on from Health Partners. Hi, Terry. Good morning. Wonderful to have you there. Phelan partner, right at Phelan and Olive, the Health Partners Specialty Clinics and the Neuroscience Center. It's good to have you on the east side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to ask you to mute unless you're talking. And I'm going to turn us over to Amanda and to JP to talk a little bit about setting the stage. We're going to talk about the work that the St. Paul Area Chamber has done to get us going on this public safety conversation. They did a wonderful survey last year of residents and employees. So we get that angle coming at us a little bit today to set the context for what do we need to be talking about on the east side, or what's top of mind for east siders that you've connected with going forward. So we're going to start off with Amanda and JP. Welcome to the show. Anything else you needed from me to get us going?
Did you want me to share my screen? I put the link to the survey in the chat, but it might be more entertaining for folks if I pull it up.
I will absolutely get that going. Thanks, Amanda, for reminding me.
Yeah, okay. No problem.
You should be able to now. Go ahead and do
good
it.
Deal. Thank you very much. There we go. Does everybody see that? Good deal. All right. Well, I will quickly introduce myself. Amanda Duerr. I'm the VP of Public Affairs here at the St. Paul Area Chamber. I started in August. So my colleague John has a bit more context of all the great public safety work that we did in 2022. So I will definitely be phoning a friend often throughout this process, but maybe to set the stage a little bit before I dive into the survey. So in 2022, it was identified that public safety was a top priority for the St. Paul Area Chamber, and something that we really wanted to focus on in our advocacy efforts. And to that end, we actually set up a subcommittee that met monthly throughout the year. And that was chaired by Brooke Lee, who did a phenomenal job. But these meetings brought in subject matter experts, anywhere from county attorneys to law enforcement to elected officials to peer regions, to really take a deep dive into public safety, perceptions and outcomes, and best practices, and what would be like the appropriate lane for the St. Paul Area Chamber in terms of our advocacy. Additionally, we held meetings in all of the wards with our members and businesses just to get feedback on public safety. Anything else I should add to what went on in 2022 before I switch over to the survey, JP?
Nothing to add. I think you covered it all. The only thing I would say is that Paris, when we talked earlier, had I known there was going to be a beard contest, I wouldn't have shaved yesterday.
Right. I was thinking the same thing. You could have won. But anyways, part of the effort and what we decided to do last year was a survey around crime perceptions in St. Paul. And this was a two-part survey. First, there was a scientific survey that sampled residents in the entire metro area with a heavy sampling of St. Paul residents. And that was conducted in August of last year. The second part was an employee survey. So we reached out to all our business members and encouraged them, to ask their employees to take part in this survey. So we had a number of member businesses want to participate, and they shared this. And so we got a good number of employee feedback as well. But obviously, since that was voluntary and self-selective, the employee survey portion of this is not actually, a statistically valid, if you will. But anyways, I will first dive in to the key takeaways of the actual the survey that took place in August 22 of all of the Twin Cities Metro and St. Paul. So biggest takeaways, and you can read deeper into this in the document as we go through it. And I encourage you, I put the link in the chat, but both St. Paul and folks across the Metro feel that crime is increasing in St. Paul, but they also recognize that it's not a problem unique to St. Paul. It's something that's going on across the country, but they definitely feel that it's happening. The majority of residents in St. Paul think the increase in crime is a significant problem, but that it's likely also a temporary problem. Like, they don't see this as going to be ongoing and continuing forever. There's some optimism that we'll get through this. When you look at this section, if you've got it, number 2, it shows in the questioning that crime is having an impact on where folks go in terms of neighborhoods they want to visit, where they want to go eat, where they want to go shop, where they want to do business. If you look at number 4, kind of the 2 biggest impacts that St. Paul residents feel crime is having in the city is the impacting on property values and business prosperity within the city. This one I thought was really interesting is that, folks seem to recognize, and this is in number 5, that there isn't a single cause to the crime. There are a lot of factors that go into it, whether it be chemical dependency, mental health, lack of support for the unsheltered, not enough police. Folks realize that this is a multifaceted problem. But then when you look at number 6, correspondingly, they also recognize that there isn't a singular solution to the crime issues that are going on within the cities, recognizing that many different solutions are likely going to be necessary to fully get a grasp on this, whether it be the support for the co-responder programs, that do more focus on the unsheltered or the chemical dependency or mental health crisis situations where you don't necessarily need a police response. But then also, police reform, increased police, and other factors as well. So I think it just shows a level of sophistication, recognizing that it's a complex problem and it will take complex solutions. And I think the biggest takeaway, like the conclusion that the survey and our consultant there was that the city is really at an inflection point here. While citizens are definitely concerned about crime and are currently pretty dissatisfied with the city's efforts to control crime, most residents feel that the city will improve and their actions will get us back on track, and this will be a short-lived problem. So that's kind of like the overall residential survey. Now, when we look at the employee survey, which was done in September of last year, it was interesting that really crime was not the major factor in employees' deciding whether or not to choose in-office or hybrid or remote work. I mean, it was a factor, but not a major one. I think the pandemic just got people used to the flexibility, and liking it was a lot more the reason there. When you look at number 9, like what is it that makes employees feel unsafe? And it was identified that it's mostly like the panhandling and the encampments make folks feel uncomfortable were the top issues that were identified there. But the number 10, the crime or perceptions of crime is also impacting employee behavior when they're at work, like deciding whether or not to use the Skyway system downtown, or which restaurants we want to go to, or, you know, do we want to stay after work for a happy hour? So it is having that sort of impact on employees' decision making. So those were kind of the key takeaways from the employee survey. And I think overall too, a few things to point out. There wasn't a lot of divergence between what folks that live in St. Paul and folks throughout the metropolitan area saw as being occurring in St. Paul. So it wasn't like outside looking in like, oh, St. Paul, you've got a problem. Like, I think everyone was pretty much on the same page. So I think that's, you know, good in terms of just having not necessarily it being like a reputational or just kind of a scare tactic type of response, if you will. I think the numbers and level of concern also track very closely between employees and residents, but perhaps a little bit more coming from employees and that may experience these issues when they come into the office that I mentioned before, like the panhandling or Skyway situations. So I'll kind of stop there on the survey. Is there anything you want to add, JP? Like this I came at the real tail end of this process, so you may have some more color you want to add.
Thanks, Amanda. I really don't have any color to add. I think you covered it, you know, as well as someone who kind of walked this path all of 2022. So, you know, I think there might be a question or two in the chat, but I have nothing further to add to it.
There's a question or two in the chat along with folks' introductions, and welcome. We have grown in size as we went away and looked at slides. So just want to welcome some new members, but first ask this question that Yanni Humus asks: was a do not agree option given with the questionnaire? Yanni, just turn on and tell us, like, in particular, are you thinking about a specific question or just
I saw in the questioning that there was a strongly agree or agree, and there wasn't an opposition end to that. Excuse me.
Yeah, this is just a very high level summary. But okay. Yes, it was broken down a lot further. They were just kind of reporting the top end of the results.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Yanni. We can do introductions by way of folks if they've got questions or want to dig into anything in particular. So I want to invite that for folks. Initial responses to the survey. How does this strike you all? I have some East Side slants that I want to kind of throw out there, but first of all, just what does this make you want to know more about?
And maybe I'll throw up, I forgot to say, Paris, that we are going to do another survey this summer, like to track the metrics. I think it's going to be like a 3-year project. So we're going to do it again this summer to see, you know, what perceptions have changed. And, obviously everybody's goal is that they improve to see what happens year over year. So, you know, we'll be doing that again this summer.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you. Yes. So one of the things that I just noticed this time through, having looked at the survey with you and listening, is that employees, and just to clarify, employees is really focused on downtown employees' perceptions of downtown, it seems like, or perceptions in general of St. Paul, but with with what I'm wondering is with a lens toward like, how do we reinvigorate downtown? Will we be seeing employees coming back downtown? Am I getting a sense that that was the employee target?
No, we invited the entire city. So any member business that had a physical presence within the city of St. Paul, you know, there was certainly lots and lots of questions included in the questionnaire that I think perhaps they just pulled out some of the downtown data for this high-end summary. But I know businesses all across the city were invited to participate.
Okay, that's helpful to know. I think one of the things that'd be interesting for us from the employer side is, what are my employees feeling? You know, is kind of an interesting option around crime. And so that sense of like, we get out of downtown, what are employees feeling? What's their impact or encounter with this topic? I think would be an interesting one to hear more about. You know, maybe that layer is there, or if we got a bunch of businesses to contribute their input, we could disaggregate some of those kinds of responses, like to figure some of that out.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And we talked about, you know, like, yeah, your assistance in getting more participation and encouraging your members to weigh in next time around. I think that would be really good.
All right, terrific. Thank you. So I want to perk this conversation a little bit and just turn it toward my East Side colleagues here and ask you to think about, as we kind of shift into the show, questions for JP and for Amanda and for our senior commander too, about what we think this would look like from the East Side, or does this survey lend us any kind of context to think about the East Side? If we were to drill in a little bit farther, what do we think some of the East Side issues would be, or some East Side concerns might be? Could be things that you've heard, could be things that you're dealing with, could be things that you have heard around you or on your neighborhood. Can drop those in the chat, and I see Patrick just did. Think about that for just a second while we do a round of introductions to just welcome the new folks who have chimed in since we started the show, which I want to make sure they feel like they're being included. And we can say hi to Stephanie Haar over there, aide to Councilmember Jane Prince, and say thanks for chiming in there, Steph. Good to see you on the show today. We also have some other folks, and Pam, I'm not sure I will say your last name right, but welcome to the show. Pam, if you want to just turn on and tell us who you are, that'd be perfect. Oh, you're muted, Pam.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, my name is Pam Golke. I'm the youth service manager here at the American Indian Family Center. We are on the East Side. So hello, everybody.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here. Thank you.
Thanks.
I also see Pader Vang. Welcome, Pader. You want to turn on and say hi?
Hello, everyone. This is Pader, and I'm a city council candidate in Ward 7. So glad to be able to join you guys today. Great topic. Thank you.
Glad you're on the show, and we'll look forward to any questions that you have. I see some folks that I don't know. Oh, I see the manager for the Arlington Library. If you want to turn on and introduce yourself and say hi.
Hey, name is Rokia Abdi. Nice to see you, Paris. Rokia Abdi, manager at Arlington Hills Library.
So glad that you're here. We're excited about this topic and to hear what you think about it. We've got lots of corners of the East Side represented, everybody. You know, we've got a little Mounds Park contingent, got a little Arlington Hills, Payne Avenue contingent, got a little Lower Payne contingent, got a little District 2, you know, White Bear Avenue feeling going on. You know, curious about what this means across the East Side, a little bit of arcade in the picture and folks that serve the whole East Side. So, you know, let's stir this up and talk about what do we really think the hot topics are on our side of town, or what do you hear businesses talking about? Before we do, I want to hear from Ahmed Mohammed, another person that is new to the show. Ahmed, welcome. If you want to turn on, tell us who you are. And if not, that's okay too. You're welcome to just join in and listen. We have Andrea Fage from Family Values for Life. So glad you're here, Andrea. Fun to see you.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
Hi, we're glad you're here too. Have I missed anybody? I don't think so. And Ahmed, if you want to just drop information in the chat or just hang out and listen, that's good too. So go ahead and some things are happening in the chat that I'm going to take a look at. But is someone willing
Hi,
to?
this is Ahmed. I'm from Arcade.
Hi, Ahmed from the arcade from Seeger Square.
Yeah,
Right. Terrific. So fantastic to see you.
good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Well, welcome. All right. So I haven't been paying attention to the chat because I've been watching you all. But is someone willing to start this conversation? What are some of the things that are top issues or hot for you, you think, on the East Side regarding this topic that you think an East Side business community ought to be paying attention to or would be interested in knowing more about?
I'm not sure if the library is a business, but we are public service. But one thing that I'm a little bit curious is if there is anything being done, especially the last 2 years, the pandemic, and how it escalated the behavior of youth and the crime that we can call high or low, but it's like escalating. It's becoming a little bit serious. If there's any survey that's been done, or I know perception of crime is different according to what you believe. Like if I walk near encampment, and I may have the perception of these people are just not having a place and they are just okay, or I may just develop fear. That's a little bit different psychologically, but I'm a little bit into youth. Yeah, if there is something like that, because I know we cannot say something right now, but there is a lot of research that's going on psychologically, how the pandemic escalated and changed the behavior of youth, and we're dealing,
Yeah, you have open doors for the community right there at
Yeah,
Arlington, and you want, youth are a key constituent for you to serve.
Oh yeah.
So
I
it's
think
not like you don't want
80%,
them
yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
You just need them coming in maybe a little differently than they are. So that's an interesting question. What do we know about youth? And youth, I've just underscored now as a concern. I've heard this elsewhere.
Yeah.
Too.
I actually, you really you really teed up a topic that we were going to talk about. So thank you for that question. There is a piece of legislation that the chamber is working on collaboratively with this Ramsey County Board, the Ramsey County Attorney John Choi, and Ramsey County Sheriff. It reflects a consensus between all of these parties on a good solution to help address and I think along with perception, I think it's accurate to say that there is kind of a core group of juveniles that is causing some issues within the county. So what this bill would provide would be funding for community-based intensive treatment homes for some of these juvenile offenders. So like small group homes that could serve 5 to 7 kids to really work very directly with them and help them work through their issues and try to get back on a better path. But then after these kids, re-enter and go back to their family, it would provide funding for community-based wraparound services, such as family support groups, crisis de-escalation training, and employment opportunities for these kids to try to maintain the positive direction and momentum. And so this bill has been heard in both the House and the Senate public safety committees and is going to be considered in the overall public safety budget in the legislature. But it's really been a good example of collaboration amongst parties that frankly don't agree on much. And kind of seeing this as a good solution to try to address some of the issues with our youth in the county. So we've appreciated being involved and being really strongly supportive there. So we're really hoping that this will pass this year.
Can you share the link of the bill if you don't mind, or maybe send us? Yeah.
We've got other folks that work with youth on the call and are concerned about youth. A sense of both what's happening in the in youth culture and or what you see that might be kind of an interesting piece of this here. And Rukia, you mentioned something else that we'll come back to about perception. Patrick also mentioned in the chat. But first about youth, are there other things happening with youth or concerns about youth that I think folks would want to comment on?
Can I jump in and
Please,
share?
Andrea. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea with Family Values for Life. Sorry, my camera's off. I'm on mama duty today. So I just want to share with Family Values, we have our U-Turn 180 program. And we work with K through 12th grade. And so one of the things that we're finding is retention. Like, how do we get youth to join our programs? What are they really looking for? What are they interested in? And also like incentives, like how do we incentivize them to be able to be a part of different programs that we have. We have after school programs, different mentoring program opportunities, and we have several summer camps as well. So I think that's kind of the thing that we're finding is how do we reach these kiddos, you know, to be able to provide them some activities to keep them out of trouble, and, you know, also to be able to connect them with colleges and just different things like that. So that's what we at Family Values for Life, you know, is doing with our youth. I would love to connect with anyone who's doing similar work, you know, so we can work together, you know, to be able to help our kiddos out. So that's what I had, Paris.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Andrea. And here,
This is to Andrea. I also work within the county corrections area. Do you work with the JDC at all for aftercare or guidance for when with like the POs and that type of thing service?
We do not. No,
Okay.
we do not.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm not sure if that's something that we would be interested in moving forward, because I know our departments are growing with some family coaching services that we are doing.
Sure.
So I'd love to connect and see if, you know, that's a space that we could even add on or see where we could work together too.
Sure. Yeah, we can connect via Paris, I believe.
Yep,
Sounds
that won't be hard. You can drop your contact information in the chat if you want to.
Oh.
So in some of our conversations last year, part of what we heard was a lot of youth were coming off the bus out in the Sunray district, and without other places to go, were kind of coming into businesses and using that as their living room. Which, you know, we're open to the business, we're open to the public, and there are some options for coming in and connecting. But I think business owners have not known how to respond positively to youth when their perceptions of what's going on in their dining room result in them not feeling like that's the kind of atmosphere that they want to really have at their restaurant. And in part, like, just youth being youth, talking to each other and connecting and joking and having a good time. Spaces and places open and ready to receive is one of those connections we could work to make. You know, what are some other options that we know of that are available? If folks want to come in and be customers, I think there aren't very many businesses that would say, look, we don't want your money. I mean, at least I haven't run into any. But they definitely have some issues when that turns into hanging out and staying more time and doesn't seem like that's productive, or that is like customer behavior. And I think we're challenged to know, like, what skills do we use to even clarify that with folks? And especially with youth, that can be an energetic conversation. And I don't know if I'm expressing all of this in exactly kind of the right way to get to a question, but I think that we need better ways to respond in relationship, and learning those skills is challenging for us. The community is stressed after the pandemic, for sure. Andrea, I think you have something to say about that, maybe.
Yeah, I like that. I'm wondering if it's possible that those of us who already do youth programming and host youth at our sites, if we can maybe do a before school or an after school something, just like a hangout spot or something, like they can come and do homework, they can, different places, and maybe the businesses can offer something like that to the youth, like to maybe just have a reserved space for 1 hour or something, because we can maybe see how long the kids are typically there, right? So if they're there between certain times, maybe we can offer to the businesses if they're open to that, and to maybe just have a space just for the kids. And maybe us as leaders can offer like a gift card if they need to have something to drink, or a little snack, or maybe offer snacks, like go to the businesses and say, these are the snacks for the kids when they come in, or something like that. I don't know. I'm just trying to be more proactive and creative than just telling them, like, you can't be here because you're too loud.
Right.
So,
which never goes well, ever.
Right.
I've never seen that go well. It doesn't work with me and my own kids.
Right.
Damn.
Paris, this is Kurt. I kind of
Oh,
want to.
hey, Senior Commander. Yeah, we've got a couple other people who want to respond to me and help me with my kids. Go ahead,
I
Kurt.
kind of want to weigh in on that one a little bit. I would just caution efforts on that front. Not saying it's not a good idea, but it's a lot more complicated than that. And I would follow up with those are the purposes of the rec centers and the libraries, and they're already providing those services. And the current environment, if you're going to do that, you really need to be prepared to deal with, there's a lot of our youth and a lot of our adults even that have a lot of problems, and you just need to go in eyes wide open is all I'm saying. So I think it's a great idea, Andrea. I would love to see it happen. I want everybody to know that it's not something you should, in my opinion, go into thinking you're going to do a bunch of good, because I'm afraid that you're going to be disappointed and it's not going to go as well as you thought it was going to. There's the Salvation Army, there's rec centers all over the place, and that's, I think, where we should be, because they're trained in dealing with these, I have to be, some of the issues that we're seeing in our schools and other places. So I love the conversation. I love the idea. I just want to make sure that I got that out there. Thank you.
Well, and as he's saying, though, when you were talking about the Sunray area, Paris, I would have raised my hand, but I can't find the hand thing. But, Sane Foundation is right there, and a ton of kids go over there. The Sunray Library is there as well. And, I'm going to really age myself, but decades ago, the stores by the high schools used to put up no loitering, because the perception, and that makes people who actually are going to be coming to these places to spend money, they get intimidated when there's a big group of kids hanging out by their store, in their store. So the more you can, like Kurt said, the more you can get them to go to, like, over to Sunray or over to Sane Foundation, because the other thing is that people are even more afraid now. And I've heard since the about a month ago or something like that, a kid got stabbed in the neck one night right by Sane Foundation on Ruth and Conway. And then we had the stabbing and the killing of the kid at Harding High School. I've been to some various meetings and social events and have heard people say, they're not sending their kids to St. Paul Public Schools, and they're pulling their kids from St. Paul Public Schools and moving them. And because people are really worried.
Thanks, Lori. I'm going to ask, I think I saw Pam first and then Yolanda on this youth tip. And Andrea, to say like creative ideas, that's part of what conversation like this is really good for. And I think reaching out to businesses and letting them know that they have support from community programs that might be able to work in some new ways with them seems like the right tip. And the question is, how do we move forward in some of those conversations? Pam, I'm going to invite you to respond.
Thank you. Yeah, currently right now, the American Indian Family Center Indigenous Roots, every day of the week. Well, actually, I take that back. Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, it's open. Indigenous Roots is open. It's right off of West 7th Street or East 7th Street, excuse me. And we partner with them, and we invite our young people to come on in and do some homework. You know, there's a little coffee shop there for them. Some of our programs like Indian Ed, the St. Paul Public Schools Indian Ed program is putting a little bit of money aside for them to order drinks. We got little snacks that sometimes we donate little snacks, you know, and the kids come in and they sit and they visit and they do their homework, or they ask for help. We got tutors there. We've got an iPod cast that's going, you know, it is working, you know, but you got to have enough people to invest in this. It can't be just one or two people. It's got to be a group of people, and then have people from different organizations come in and sit with them, or just have somebody, you know, some tutors sitting in there, because they like to talk. They want to be listened to. And we've gotten some programs started this way. So it's just a matter of investing in your future and taking the time and sitting down, talking with them. Let's quit being afraid of them all the time.
Pam, that's super helpful. I think one of the things that I just hear in this is a great benefit to know where the youth programs are that are close to your business, and be building, you know, as you say, like we need more than just youth programs doing this work. We also need businesses aware of what the resources are that are close by them. Yolanda?
Yeah, I remember when we did the de-escalation training with Carl, and he was talking about the hemorrhaging of systems. And it's interesting how one thing leads to another. And I don't even know how you would survey it, but when SPPS made the decision to work with MnDOT and have the high school students and middle school students riding Metro Transit to go to school, my son's school, when they were in high school, they were part of the pilot for that, for Johnson. And the way it worked is that they had a bus, and it was like the 64J, for example, and they would catch that, but no one else but teachers and students, teachers were on there too, would catch the bus to Johnson. And there was an incident where someone that was having a mental health crisis was allowed to get on the bus and was warming up to touch the kids. And so some students who were aware of what was going on intervened and protected the rest of the students, and they had to get off the bus. But to make a long story short, decisions are made by the city or with different entities that affect families, and they totally mess up their timeline. And then you have 3,000 kids getting off at Union Depot, you know, with nowhere to necessarily go. And so they take the path of least resistance, right? They catch the bus and then they go to Culver's, or they go to wherever, you know, there's an open space to be. And then COVID has affected youth, and there has been an escalation with behavior because the adults have been affected by COVID and they have escalated behaviors. And so you tend to practice what you see or hear or experience yourself. And so all these things it's kind of like a maelstrom, and it's like dumped in the streets, right? And I really think that there's a lack of communication between these entities. They didn't talk to anybody. They didn't talked to the police department. They were not a part of that conversation. The schools were, the teachers were not, and the students' families were not a part of that conversation. The rec centers were not a part of that conversation. The libraries were not a part of that conversation. All these things that are there to help and support, no one was a part of that conversation. So you had two entities that made a decision on behalf of the whole city of St. Paul. And now we have the hemorrhaging of the system.
Yolanda,
The things that we're seeing are symptoms.
Yep. Thank you. And this is exactly the level of conversation that I was hoping we would get to. What are the things that we're seeing, and how do we together figure out what path forward might make sense for working on the real problems? And so Amanda, this came up earlier. So Yolanda, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you for that comment. You know, partly it is, how do we work on big problems like that together? Where do we even take that conversation? I'm glad Noel Nix is on this call. I'm glad our representative Jay Shong just jumped on this call. I'm glad we have our senior commander here so we can work on some of these things together. Stephanie Haar and future candidates for our city council, because those are gigantic issues that, you're right, decisions that get made that have consequences. How do we respond to them? And how do we work on them? Those are things that small businesses can't work on alone. You can't work on that inside your shop on your own. Big businesses can't work on that in isolation on their own. So how do we work together to handle some of the things that are coming up when we're talking like that? I'm going to come back to Andrea for a second, but I want to ask a question that was in the chat and that Rukia brought up when she first kind of opened this up. Perception is one thing. And on the east side, we work with perception a lot. We struggle against what we feel is the rest of the city and metro's perception of the east side. And we also struggle with the legacy of just what we think people think about the east side. You know, perception is it's kind of a spiral. So how do we work on the perception is one of those questions that we have been thinking about on the east side for a long time. And I think what I'm hearing in this conversation most is at bedrock, and I just want to check it out with folks. The way we work on perception on the east side is actually figuring out what issues are on top for us with the real problem. East siders have never said, look, we just want to ignore the fact that there are problems and just talk about the good stuff. They have always said, there are problems. Let's figure out how we work on them. Those have been my senses of this conversation. And I wonder, I'm seeing some nods. I'm wondering if folks want to make any comments about this thing about perception and psychology, and this thing about real problems and how we address and tackle them, and any other real problems that we haven't talked about yet. And then Andrea, we'll come back to you for a second.
I can start with that. And the reason I'm asking is because there are a lot of perceptionists out there, but if there are no a basis for that, it's just I'm feeling, but there is it's not based in research or nothing, it gets worse. And my background is child development. I studied how children grow and learn, and I feel sometimes I cry when I'm kind of when I see what's happening, because there is a lot of knowledge and that you need to have in order to deal with kids. And I'm also an author. I wrote a book about parenting, specifically addressing the East African community, Somali community. I do parenting workshops. And right now I'm a psychology student, developmental psychology, studying further latest research about the effects of youth and what's happening. So one thing that I share with the parents is we always want good thing to happen. Even if there is no crime, youth are going to go through some developmental stages that we need to deal with. We cannot deny that. And I don't see that preparation. We just see, whoa, what's happening? They should be yelling. They should be doing all these things, right? And that is, we have to be prepared for them. Most of the time, we just respond to crisis, but the levels of preventive measurements is like maintaining the goodness and then preparing and responding to at-risk cases and then responding to crisis. And we have to be prepared that we have to be okay because we are human, right? So the thing is like crisis, and now we're burned out. We're as a staff, some people are crying when something happens, like, oh my God, why did it happen? It happened because there's no coherence, there's no collaboration between entities that deal with youth, and we deal with youth. And when it comes to crime, and I am here to listen more, but there is like a, for example, there is like an ADO, like a crime prevention method. Is like there is like ability, desire, and opportunity triangle that you have to look, especially youth, for example. They have ability to walk, they have the desire just to do anything because their frontal lobe is not developed yet, right? They're developing, they need adults around, and then they need opportunity to do. So one of those things, if we take out, or if it doesn't exist, crime will happen. The reason crime is happening is there is a lot of opportunity for them. There is nothing that we are, I mean, not like there is, I don't see crime reduction thing that's happening. So everybody, okay, what's happening? Now there are youth who are talking, they come in the library, some stuff like, oh my God, something is happening. For me, I just go in between them. And although it's a risk sometimes, I just pretend I'm, shelving. So when they see adults walking in, there's no opportunity for them to continue, even if they were planning something. We need to see something. There is a perception that we don't want to police, for example, because it's a reality, it's happening in society. But if there are police like friendly around, nothing will happen, and we're not, fostering that thing. Anyway, I'm gonna stop, but there is a lot of opportunity, and I'm willing to talk to families for life, and anyone who's working with youth. I can come to the businesses to talk about library and whatever we are offering for youth, including job opportunities.
Terrific. So it sounds like there is a follow-up for us, you all, around this youth topic and ways to support youth on the East Side. That's not news for us probably, but it sounds like there's maybe a growing momentum toward doing that. I want to just say hello to our representative, Jay Xiong. Thanks for dropping in today. Representative Xiong, we know you're super busy over at the Capitol. We talked about a bill earlier, just briefly, and that bill number dropped into the chat. I'm going to ask Amanda to drop it in there again. That is about youth and about their support. Wow, there's a lot going on in the chat, everybody. I am not paying attention to that. I'm sorry. Okay, and I am also not paying attention to the time. Holy cow. So we need to turn to our senior commander for just a moment, because I know there is a program that you wanted to just mention is launching, and I've got the link up for that, Senior Commander Hallstrom. But I wonder if you would, if you don't mind, just also doing a little bit of the work that you would do around a community police report, or invite us to the community police conversation. And I know we were going to come back to Andrea too, and we're going to run out of time. So apologies, everyone. Senior Commander, can you talk for just a little bit, just a minute, about crime trends, crime stats on the East Side, or and thank you for chiming in earlier about this youth conversation.
Well, I can't do a minute. I'm sorry, Paris. I need about 20.
I know.
Crime is down on the East Side, contrary to what you're reading in the papers and watching on the news and all the other stuff. It's down pretty much across the city. Auto theft is down over 50% from where we were last year. I don't know if there's no more Hyundais and Kias left to steal, or what we got cooking there, but so that's all good. What I really wanted to talk about was the SHIELD program that the city of St. Paul, the police department, has launched. It was mainly started downtown. That's where most of the people are logged in. But if you click on the web link that Paris has provided in the chat, it will take you to a description of what it is. And then you can, if you want to join as a business entity or nonprofit in the city of St. Paul, you ask to join, and then your application will be reviewed, and then you will be given access to SHIELD. And what it is it's a platform that you all can share information with each other. That if maybe you have an individual that's perpetually hanging out in front of your business causing problems, coming into your business, maybe if you are, I gave it to Devani's yesterday. If you're at Devani's on the East Side, maybe MGM is having the same problem. And if you don't talk to each other on a regular basis, you might not even realize that you're having the same problem with the same individual as others in your group. on the platform. It was started in New York after 9/11 as a way to get entities to share information with each other and the law enforcement community without having law enforcement data on there. Lots of information on there. There's training, there's resources you can go to about, you know, run, hide, fight, active shooters. It's just you know, from New York and all over the nation have been added to this platform. So please apply, and if you use it, great. If it's not something that's in your wheelhouse, it's no cost and not that big of a deal. So I did that in 2 minutes. I just want it to be known. 2 minutes. I'm done. Maybe it was
It's a new record. It's probably because you shaved. It is about aerodynamics. Anyway.
How did we get that information on how to apply?
Terry, I just dropped it in the chat. I'm sorry, my link wasn't.
Oh, that
live
is the
first
same.
time I
Okay.
did. You see it's under shield right there. Grab it.
Perfect.
And
Thank you.
it'll also be in our newsletter coming up on Tuesday. The anti-displacement focus group also coming up next Wednesday for businesses, especially small businesses. The city is really working on pulling folks together to talk about what kinds of services would help, what kinds of programs would help.
I have to jump to another meeting.
We
So
are
honestly.
wrapping it up. Abdi,
Okay.
so Ms. Abdi, thank you so much for coming. We'll connect with you again.
Okay, bye.
Final announcements. We've got a whole bunch of fun stuff happening on the east side. And I just dropped these in the chat so you can see them too. But I didn't actually put in there our fish fry, which is Friday. Man, it's been the only thing on my mind this week, except for this conversation with Amanda and JP and all of you. We're doing a fish fry on Friday. Come on down 4:30 to 7:30 at the Arcade Legion. It's the first fish fry since 2019 for us. So it better be a blowout, and it won't be if you don't show up. So come on down, everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun. For sure. We will need to keep this conversation going. If there's some things that didn't get talked about today that you think are hot and on top, and skills that businesses need to build to connect around these issues of our real topics on the east side, drop those in the chat on your way out. And we will see you next month. Actually, we'll see you a little later this month at Ideal Printers. We're doing a coffee break on March 23rd. And we're celebrating women's leadership and women-owned businesses, and Ideal is definitely in that category. And we're excited to go to their shop. So think about coming by.
Okay, Paris.
Hey, Lori.
That's March 23rd, because okay, yeah, it says March 23rd. Okay.
Speaking
I
about
thought
a woman leader, Lori Seaver.
Okay.
We have a bunch of fantastic
March
women
23rd.
leaders on this call. Just look around. You all are awesome. March 23rd. Yes. Did I say something else?
No.
Okay.
I was just testing you.
Great.
Keep it-
All right.
keep 'em
So
in check.
everybody, Yanni, what do you want to say?
Lori, keep them in check.
So important, everyone. All right. Have a fantastic day out there. I Heart Mom is coming up in May, and Andrea is looking for collaborators. So Andrea, let's create a space to do that. Let's definitely be working on pulling some folks together for that. And thank you, everybody. And thank you so much to Amanda and JP for coming today and talking about the overall crime stats. We'll be working together to figure out what good next steps are, and we'll be talking to Brooke about it too. And hopefully she'll be watching this video a little later today.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks
everybody.
for the invite.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, JP. We'll see you all next time.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
A good day.
Goodbye, Ahmed. So glad to see you.
Good to see you, sir.